here we go. First I gotta set everything up, so let's do that. Let me moving that. Get my box of stuff out, so I'm gonna put this down for a moment so I can get that. Alright, so in this box is all of the equipment I use to record and to play live too. This is a mixer. Oh. Put that right there. Oh, and this is my audio recording setup here, pretty much. Just a computer and all my equipment. Microphone. I got a couple different microphones in my set. I use a couple contact microphones which pick up pressure and turn it into audio. They are attached to a piece of sheet metal right here. And they're some of the main sound input that I use for my noise. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put this down for a second so I can record everything. Finishing up plugging some things in here. Right now I'm giving power to everything because without power this is pretty useless. Alright. After fixing mild technical difficulties, because I suck at hooking my own equipment up, which is kind of embarrassing at this point, because I've been doing this for a little longer than 5 years now, 5 or 6 years. So, alright, so this is what I was talking about earlier. This is a double contact mic piece of sheet metal. It's actually fairly standard practice in the world of noise to use contact mics attached to pieces of metal. Alright, this is a microphone for vocals. It is plugged into the Boss HM2 pedal, which is actually not made anymore. If anyone knows anything about metal, the Boss HM2 pedal was used in Sunlight Studios in Sweden for the early Swedish death metal bands, which is fairly cool piece of trivia. So basically I'm using a distortion pedal that was used by pretty well-known bands in the early 90s, well, in the music I like anyway, for vocals, for vocal distortion. It's probably the best vocal distortion I've ever used. It's excellent. My first contact mic, which is the black wired one, is plugged into the Boss MT2 pedal, which is a Metal Zone. It is extremely awesome, and if you look closely you can see that it has knobs on top of knobs. It has a level knob, and the second knob in from the left is a high-low combination knob. Basically the larger knob at the base controls the low, and the other knob controls the high. The next one over is the middle and middle frequency, which allows for kind of a better tweaking of equalization settings. And the other knob is for distortion, which is basically just, well, you know, it's more useful for people who play music that isn't noise, because basically this is all going to be as high as possible with just changing these things, because these change how the color of the sound. Next to that is an upside down pink noise generator. It's awesome and only cost me $45, which is probably the best deal I've ever seen for a pink noise generator. For people who don't know what pink noise is, it's a little like white noise, but I don't know much of the technicalities of it. You can probably look it up on Wikipedia. But it's basically, it sounds a little like the ocean, whereas white noise is literally static. It doesn't have any ebb and flow to it, whereas the pink noise has kind of a has a richer sound to it, I think, and it sounds a little better than white noise. I run it through the Digitech death metal pedal, which is pretty cool. It's not the best distortion pedal ever, but I do have one that's even worse than it in my setup, so who am I to say, really? The Digitech death metal pedal is a fairly standard issue death metal distortion pedal, as they call them, and it has a level, low, mid, and high knob. That's fairly standard. Pretty much most pedals these days have those knobs on them. Next over, which is also plugged into, so it goes pink noise generator into death metal pedal, which goes into the Dodd FX40B equalizer pedal, which is a 7 band equalizer with a level. Basically, this doesn't have knobs. It has a visual equalizer kind of control here, where each band from 100 Hertz all the way up to 6400 Hertz can be tweaked to my liking. I use this in combination with the pink noise generator. For the HM2, for distortion, always have the highs as high as possible. Distortion, I keep it as high as possible. Low, I don't like how low distortion sounds with vocals. It doesn't sound very good. With the Metal Master, that's why the white wired contact mic right here. There you go. It's plugged into the Metal Master, which is a Digitech X series distortion pedal. Basically, its claim to fame, if you're into guitar, is that the X series knob, which says morph, if the shadow of the camera will get out of the way, there it is. Basically, that models different distortion pedals, or yeah, that's pretty much what it's supposed to do. Up here, you'll notice a white cord. Here's an interesting part of the setup, and this is fairly standard practice for noise artists too, is it's in a input called FX send, which you probably can't see because the shadow of this camera is insane. FX send sends everything chained from this white cord to every channel on the mixer at once, controlled by the FX knobs of each particular channel. But instead of grounding it into, I believe both of these can count as aux returns, which are what are the channels you're supposed to ground the FX sends into. I think actually any of these can be grounded, but I'm not grounding it. I am plugging this, which runs into an input, which generates something called a feedback loop. Let's see what we got here. I'm recording to my computer using the main outs, and the main RCA outs. They hook into my iMic, which acts as an external sound card, so I don't overload my computer. And it's plugged into a USB bus right here. And get off that. And now we go to my computer. We go to Audacity. We go to Edit, Preferences, Audio Input Output, change the recording device to iMic, and okay, here's just a demo of what a contact mic sounds like with no input and distortion, just distortion. Let's see, everything else goes off, and I'm just gonna kick this with my foot.